evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world. What's happening tonight? What is going on? It is Chilltown Hoops this evening, where it's always basketball season, all year round. Not sometimes, not most times, but all the time. It's always basketball season. I got an interesting one for you guys tonight, and I actually thought about this for quite a while, and it wasn't just something that I just came up with. I was thinking to myself, that it was something that I came up with, and I was trying to make sense of why people bring to me a guy's peak seasons. And I'm thinking to myself, why do people keep bringing peak up to me when does peak matter more than being awesome for a long time? But then I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. That's not the way that works, because your peak is part of your prime. It's just the best part of your prime. Now, what do I value more? If anybody knows me, you guys know I care about longevity. You guys know that I care about that. You guys know that I care about longevity. I care that you did something awesome for a long time. That matters to me. It might not matter to a lot of people, but I care about that. And the reason why is because it says a lot about your game. If you did something awesome for 3 or 4 years, but then you kind of fell off a cliff. Fell off a cliff isn't the word I'm looking for. That's not the operative phrase that I'm looking for. You did something awesome for 3 or 4 years, but then you didn't really level off more than you were here, you went here, and then right after you were here, you didn't level back off to here. And then slowly, gradually. No, you were here, then you went to here, and then you went and then you went here, and then you started going down. And I think about, what's up, Lonzo? I think about players who have had significant peaks, but have also had fantastic primes. James Harden, for an example. James Harden had 11 seasons. 11 seasons where he averaged 27 a game for those 11 seasons and 8 assists. Russell Westbrook, he had 11 seasons where he averaged 25, I think 9 and 8 for those 11 seasons. Russ got a 4-year stretch in them 11 seasons where he averaged 28 a game and 27 and 10 for 4 years. He had a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Same thing with James Harden. Allen Iverson is another one who I think about. Tim Duncan is another one who I think about when I think about having these ridiculous peaks. Kevin Garnett had a 4-year peak, because that's around where these guys are in terms of peak. When you get a guy in his peak seasons, more times than not, you're probably going to get more times than not, you're going to get 3-4 years. More times than not, you're going to get that. With that being said, what do you value more? Would you take those 4 seasons of how awesome he was, Giannis, for example? I think Giannis's prime seasons was 18 to 21. 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21. I think those were his peak seasons. I think he's still in his prime right now. I think Giannis's prime started around 16, 17. I think that was prime Giannis. This is what we're starting with. We're starting with prime Giannis, and then We're still in prime Giannis, but I think we've already seen peak Giannis. I think that went from 18 to 21, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21. That's peak Giannis. Or if you want to go 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21, 21, 22, that's peak Giannis. Maybe take 17, 18 out of it. I'm fine with that. That's all you're going to get in terms of peak Giannis. Now, from that, are you more comfortable with a guy being 29, 12, 6 assists, 2 blocks in 4 years, and you get 2 league MVPs, a defensive player of the year, and a championship? Or are you more comfortable with a guy that's for 10 years, 10 straight years, I'm going to get 24 a game, I'm going to get 9, 10 rebounds, I'm going to get 24, 25 a game, and I'm going to get 9, 10 rebounds. And on the back end of that prime, I'm still going to get that 24 a game. And I'm still going to be able to compete for championships. I'm going to be an all-NBA performer. I'm possibly going to be an all-league defender. Which guy am I taking? I value longevity. What up, Z? How you doing, brother? I value longevity. That short span of time that I get, where I get those 3, 4 years, like I got Allen Iverson, right? Like when I got Allen Iverson from 1999, 2000 to 2002, 2003, that's 4 years. Allen gave me 30 a game. Allen gave me 30 a game and 2 steals, almost 3 steals a game. Would I rather those 4 years? Would I trade those 4 years for 10 years of Allen Iverson at 28 a game? And on the back end of that, I'm getting, like when he's 31, when he's 32, I'm still getting 26, 27, and I'm still getting a steal, 2 steals a game, and we're still competing. Do I value that more? I value the longevity. And the reason why I value the longevity is because when I have longevity from a guy, I can continue to build around that. When I have a guy who gives me 3 or 4 years, kind of like what Derrick Rose did, where he gave me 3 or 4 years, then he got hurt, I can't really build around that. That's not sustainable. If I got a guy who I know that I'm going to, even though I don't know this, but if I got a guy that I'm betting on I could get from a durability aspect, if I got a guy that I'm betting on I could get, I'm going to get 10 years out of this guy. I'm going to get at least a decade out of him at this level. Right? And I'm going to get this out of him for this long. And in the process of me getting that out of him, I get the most out of my unit. Now, of course, what you're going to do is you're going to value winning, because I value winning. I 100% value winning. Sure. And 9 times out of 10, if you ask a fan, what would you rather? Would you rather 2 years, and in them 2 years you win the NBA championship, but the next 8 you're meh? Or would you rather a guy that's awesome for 10 to 12 years and you're in the NBA championship? Which one would you rather? If I had to choose between the two of them, of course you're going to say you'll take the NBA championship, right? Of course you're going to take the NBA championship. So with that being said, I know how difficult it is to win a championship. I know that you need some things to go your way. I do know that for a fact. I know that in order for you to win, right? In order for you to win, everything has to fall in place at a specific time. It has to. Otherwise, Getting lucky doesn't factor in here. So you 100% need to get lucky. So if I got lucky in those 2 years, but then the next 7, 8 years, he was, I suppose, we weren't really competing for the NBA championship, and he was good. He wasn't great. He was just good. And I got 2 years. Would I rather that, or would I rather I had a guy for 10 years, 12 years, and I got 10 of those years. And in them 10 years, or in them 12 years, 10 of them was elite seasons. And we were competing for the NBA championship every year. Or in them 10 years, we were competing for the NBA championship 6 or 7 of those 10 years. We were in the NBA finals 3 or 4 times. We were in the conference finals 6 or 7 times. Would I rather that than that short span of time? Because then I'm thinking to myself, what do I value? I do value winning, but when I value winning, is that winning sustainable? Because that's what makes you great. If I only got 2 years of you being awesome, right? I got 2 or 3 years of you being awesome. This is a great comment right here. This right here is perfect. Would you rather Bill Walton or Karl Malone? I'm taking Malone. I'll take Malone. Yep. Because you can't have both. I know how awesome Bill Walton was, but Bill Walton was more of a what if. He was way more of a what if. I'll take Malone and what he did. I'm taking an almost 30-10 guy for 11 years, first team All NBA, and we're in the Western Conference Championship 5 times in 7 years. We're in the NBA championship in back-to-back seasons. We're the class of the Western Conference. I'll take that. I'll take that over a guy that's giving me 3 years of peak performance and then he breaks down, or he's good. No. Because I still have just as I still have just as good a chance. I feel like I have just as good a chance with the guy that's giving me what Malone gave me as the guy in those 2 or 3 years. I have just as good a chance of him. That guy needs some things to go his way. Garnett is a prime example of that. Garnett was past his peak seasons in 08, in 07, 08. 100% he was past his peak. Was he still awesome? Yes, he was. Yes, he was. If we take them 4 years of Garnett, I'm gonna go 2000 to 2004. Right? I'm gonna go 2000 to 2004. I feel like that's peak KG. When he won the league MVP, maybe 2001 to 2000, maybe 2001 to 2005. I think either 2000 to 2004 or 2001 to 2005. I'm going to say 2000. I'm going to say 2000 to 2004. I think that's peak. I think that's peak KG. So with that being said, would I take those 4 years of KG and then him go the other way? And when I say the other way, I don't mean falling off a cliff. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is what I got from KG in 2005, 2006, 2007, 07, 08, 08, 09. When I got those all-star seasons from him in Boston in those 5-6 years, I'm not getting those all-star seasons. I'm just getting a good KG. I'm getting a solid KG. That wasn't a solid KG that played in Boston. That was not. He was elite on defense. He still played at an all-NBA level. And he was on the back end of his prime. So with that, right, I'm going to take 1998 to 2009. I'm going to take 1998 to 2009 Kevin Garnett over a guy who was awesome for 3 or 4 years. Or I'm taking 1998-99 Kevin Garnett to 2008-09 Kevin Garnett over 2000 to 2004 Kevin Garnett. I'll take the other guy. Yes, I will. I'm not gonna. You're not just gonna give me that short span of KG and that's enough. No, that's not enough. I feel like when a guy is in his prime, teams maximize him. Bam Adebayo is a prime example of that. When I think about Bam, I think about a guy right now. I feel like we're in peak Bam years. I think Bam is in year 7. I think Bam's prime started 2 years ago. Some people think it was 2020 in the bubble. They think that was prime Bam. I don't think he was prime Bam yet. I think the next year he entered his prime in the 2021 season when he was becoming an elite defender. I think that's when he entered his prime. That was 19 and 10. Then we get 20 and 10. I feel like now where I am with Bam, I feel like these are peak Bam seasons. The next, I just got a 20 and 10 season from Bam. I think I got 3 more years of that. He's 26 now. I think I could get 3 more. I think I could get 3 more peak. I think I can get 3 more 20 and 10 seasons from Bam. Would I take in these next 3 years? Would I take that? Right? Would I take that over a 10-year stretch where Bam was 20 and 10 or 19 and 9, and he was a first-team All-League defender, and we were competing for the NBA championship. We were in the NBA Finals. Let's say in those 10 years, we're in the NBA Finals because that's where we are with Bam. From 2021 to, let's say, 2031, we're in the NBA championship 2 more times. So if we're in the NBA championship 2 more times and we maybe win it, we may win it in one of those seasons, but we're in the NBA championship 2 more times in addition to what we were in 2023. We're in the NBA championship 2 more times. We're in the conference championship because we were in the conference championship in 22, in 23. Let's say that's 2 conference championships with Bam. And then I get then I get, let's say, 4 more. Let's say I get 5 more conference championships from Bam. Where Miami is in the conference championship 5 more times in this decade. That's 7 times they was in the conference championship. And I get 2 more trips to the finals. That's 3 trips to the NBA championship and, let's see, 7 trips to the conference finals. That means I'm competing for the NBA championship every year. Every year I'm competing for the NBA championship. I'm there. Now, am I going to win it? Well, a lot of that has to do with, I feel like a lot of that has to do with getting some luck on your side. And this right here, this logic is terrible. KG was top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year in 2012 in year 16. Yep, and Chris Webber in 2005, 2006 averaged 20 and 10. The next year, he looked like he was planted to the floor. KG was over after that season. That was the year after that he went to Brooklyn, and he wasn't nearly what he was. So, no, I'm not buying that at all. No. Don't get yourself wrapped up in stuff like that. I won't allow myself to get wrapped up in stuff like that. No, I can't. So I say that to say, I say that to say, what was James Harden's prime? Right? What was What was James Harden's prime? I think James Harden's prime was 11 years. Would I take that over? Would I take that over those 3 years where in 16, 17, 18, 18, 19? Would I take James' 11 years if I had to choose between his 11 years and his 3 years where he could have been league MVP all 3 of those years straight? He could have very well been the league MVP in 16, 17, 17, 18, and 18, 19. He could have been the league MVP all 3 of those years. Would I take those 3 years over if I had to choose between those 3 years? And I think James Harden's prime was 2013, 12-13 to the year he led the league in assists, the year before that. I think those are prime James Harden years, 23. Would I take those 11 seasons over the 3 years that I got from James Harden? Would I take those 3 years, those 4 years of Russ's prime seasons was 15, 16, 17, 17, 18, and 18, 19. Russ gave me 29 a game, 28 a game, I'm sorry. 28 a game Russ gave me. He had a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Would I take those 4 years over Russ's 11 seasons? I feel like I feel like your prime, when I think about your prime, right? I feel like when I think about your prime, I think about how awesome you were for a long time. And in addition to you being awesome for a long time, right? In addition to you being awesome for a long time, how did you sustain that? Right? How did you sustain that? How awesome was that? That's what I care about. When I care about winning, I care about longevity, which is sustainability. It's the same thing. How long were you able to sustain you being awesome? And what did it lead to? Because, like I said, winning the NBA championship, right? Winning the NBA championship is way different than just being awesome. Because you need a lot of things to go your way in order to win the NBA championship. A lot. The Boston Celtics proved that this season. Joker proved it in 2023. Giannis proved it in 2021. Toronto proved it in 19. You need some luck on your side. Being good ain't good enough, man. It's not. You need some things to go your way. If these things don't go your way and they go somebody else's way, you could be on the outside looking in. That very well could happen. So with that being said, I value a guy being awesome for a long period of time more than this short section where it's 3 years, right? It's 3 years for him to be 3 years for him to be awesome. And the reason why I skipped over the Lakers green, because I think they would have won the NBA championship that year without the bubble. I had them. I said before the season started, and I know you're a Clippers advocate, so this is probably gonna go in one ear and out the other with you, and you like to be engaged in the show. That's what you do, so that's fine. So just so you know, before the 2019-2020 season started, I said to my friends, because they had just announced that they were moving James to the 1. I said, if James is moved to the 1, I said, if he leads the league in assists that season, because they were moving him to the 1, and I know I know the distributor that he is. I said, if they move him to the 1 and he leads the league in assists, He's going to win the league MVP, and they're going to win the NBA championship. I said that before the season started, and he was well on his way to doing that before COVID shut the season down. They were on their way to winning 60-plus games. I think they were at 49 wins. I think they were at 49 wins before COVID shut the season down. They were at 49 wins. James was at the top of the league in league MVP votes. He had outclassed Giannis the last time he saw him. They were the best team. I thought they were the best team in the NBA. I didn't like that matchup that they had against the Clippers because they were in dogfights with the Clippers. And I thought that if they could avoid the Clippers, they had a really good shot. But without the bubble, without COVID shutting down the season and them moving to Orlando, I still think they would have won the NBA championship that year. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. I value being awesome for a long time. I care about that. When I think about Bryant, for example, I think Bryant showed up in 96. I think Bryant's peak years, I think Bryant's peak seasons, peak Bryant, I think it's 2000. He might have had two peaks, but I think the one that I think the one that was the most substantial for me was 06, 07, because I didn't know he was 35 a game. I didn't know he was 33 a game. I didn't know he was that good. But I did know with Shaq from 2000, so from 2000, 2001, so from 2000, 2001 to 2004, that's 4 years. I feel like that's peak Bryant. Now, I got a different Bryant in 05, 06, 06, 07, and 07, 08. The scoring went down because he was getting older, sure. The scoring went down because he was getting older, absolutely. But with that being said, he still was at the top of his game, which means to me, I think he was still in his prime at that point. I think I'd already seen peak Bryant, and I think that was 2000 to 2004. So what was Bryant's prime? I think his prime started in the 2000-2001 season. I think that was year 5. And that went all the way from 2000-2001 to 12-13. I got 12 years out of Bryant at 28 a game. I got 28 a game for 12 years out of Bryant. And I don't know how many guys can say that. I mean, I got 28 a game out of Neek for 9 years. I got 28 a game out of Russell Westbrook for 11 years. I got 27 a game out of James Harden for 11 years. I got 28 a game out of Malone for 11 years. To get almost 30 a game out of a guy for over a decade, that's pretty impossible. Not entirely impossible, but more than likely you're not going to get that. To get almost 30 a game out of a guy for more than a decade, that's pretty impressive. That's really impressive. And his peak years, I think he was hands down the best two guard in the game. I don't think, and there were a bunch of two guards. I think he was better than Carter. I think he was better than Rip Hamilton. I think he was better than Brandon Roy, Kerry Kittles, Joe Johnson, guys like that. He was better than all of them dudes, all of them. So I value a guy's peak, but I also value his longevity. And if I have to choose between the two, I am taking a guy's prime because I don't want to just take those 4 years out and leave out the other 8, 9 years. I don't want to do that. I can't do that. I can't take out Like I said, I think I'm in peak Bam years right now. Bam is I feel like Bam is gonna give me. I feel like Bam is gonna give me 2 more years of this, maybe 3. I think I'm gonna get a 20 plus a game season from Bam, maybe 2 more. And I think I'm gonna get a double-digit rebounding season from Bam. I'm confident in that. With that being said, I definitely would value. I definitely would value Bam. I definitely would value Bam from 2019, 2020 to 5 years from now. We're in 2024 to 2029, 30. That's a 10. That's 10 seasons at a Bam. 10 of them. I can't take out those 4 years. Because again, I've seen guys who have given me years where they were awesome. And then they showed me those peak years. Right? They showed me those peak years. But then they kind of went the other way. So, I mean, I'd like to think that, longevity matters. I'd like to think that I'm an advocate of longevity. I'm not one of these people who I'm not one of these people who values what you do in a short period of time. I'm not. I'm not that guy. I care about how you did for a long time. I bring up Malone and I bring up Garnett. Am I taking Garnett's 4 or 5 years? I think he led the league in rebounding 4 straight years. Yeah, I think Garnett led the league in rebounding for 4 straight years. And I think he's got a 5-year stretch where he's averaging like 12 and a half, 13 rebounds a game for 5 straight years. Would I take that? Duncan averaged double-digit rebounds for almost 15 years. He did it for 13 years. What do I value more? Do I value that short period of time where Garnett gave me 4 or 5 years of elite rebounding, right? He gave me elite rebounding, or do I value that more than what Tim Duncan gave me, where he gave me a 13-year stretch where he was a double-digit rebounder? Double-digit rebounder. I don't know if you know this, guys, but Garnett wasn't a double-digit rebounder for a decade. Garnett wasn't a double-digit rebounder for a decade. Tim Duncan gave me double-digit rebounds for almost 15 years. For almost 15 years, he gave me that. So I'm thinking to myself, what do I value more? And I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident I'm going to take the longevity over those 3 or 4 years. I'm definitely going to do that. What up?
What up, Joe? You hear me?
What's up, brother?
What's up, Joe? Yeah, no, I somewhat agree with what you're saying about the longevity, but I do think there is one thing with the argument with Malone and Garnett to factor in, and that's John Stockton. I think the fact that John Stockton and Karl Malone had primes that happened at the same time in the same space. They started within a year of each other. So you have the all-time leading point guard in assists, and you had for 20 years the number 2 guy in points all time. I don't think it's a coincidence that's the case. And I think one of the things that really do separate the fact that, yes, I think Karl Malone had a better prime than Kevin Garnett, but I do think Kevin Garnett's peak years are above Malone's. So the question is just, because in the 2003 season, Kevin Garnett led his team in every major statistical category. I think that's only been done 5 times. So I think the issue is that if you do that with a team, there's only so many people who can do that have ever done that. and that can do that, and also be the best defensive player on the team. So we know from a talent perspective, I think Garnett is overall a better basketball player than, well, I think he is an overall better basketball player than Carmelo. And I think the issue that it presents when you have Carmelo above Kevin Garnett is that once you gave Kevin Garnett basically a facilitating point guard that wasn't necessarily Sam Cassell was a good point guard, but he was fairly limited in what he could do. And then you had also Stephon Marbury, he was a score first point guard, more of an Iverson type. Once you gave him a facilitating guard in Rajon Rondo, they never made it for the time that he was at the Boston Celtics from 2008 2012. They either went to the finals or basically they were in the conference finals. That's where they were in those years. And despite Kevin Garnett not being in his prime, and those teams for the most part were centered around Kevin Garnett's defense. Because 2008 was the number one defense in the league, and Kevin Garnett was a defensive player of the year. So I don't think Karl Malone could reach those heights as a defender, and as well you could build a defensive unit around him to that capacity. So I think that's where the argument with Malone. I think also where Malone falls short, I think for sort of people is the finals performances. I think in both sense, how much he dips in those final performances is quite alarming for a guy. He goes down from a 49% to about 43%, turn the ball over. He's getting stripped in the last game, missing free throws.
Right.
And I think that, in a way, that's, you think getting to the finals twice hurts him. But also, I think how late in his career also helps him as well. Karl Malone was 35 when he went to the finals for the first time, 35 and 36?
33.
33 years old when he went to the finals.
And he was 33 and 34.
Yeah, so he was pretty far into his career. And the fact that even though, despite the fact that Karl Malone may have been a better player in his prime, how much more results did he really produce more than Garnett? He was never really making it to the conference finals that much in his career. He was getting knocked out in the first and second round quite consistently from about 1989 to all the way to about 97 when they kind of break through to go to the finals. So it wasn't like they were having this supreme level of success, despite having the best point guard of that generation playing next to him and having an offense that was anchored through him. So I think there's where it kind of falls short. It kind of is hard to rank Malone above Garnett due to those reasons, I think. And I think a lot of people, again, due to also Karl Malone as a human being as well, I think people just find it difficult to.
I separate the two. I do it very much like I do very much like with OJ. I mean, I think OJ was a garbage human also, but I can't take away from the fact that he ran for 1,400. He ran for 2,000 yards in a 14-game season. There's no running back in NFL history who could say that they did that. None. I have to honor that, and the fact that he led the league in rushing 4 straight years. There's not.
Yeah, OJ was a Hall of Famer before he, did what
now. When we talk about Garnett, you talk about his peak and the fact that Malone had John Stockton. I can appreciate that. However, Amari, that's not my problem. I mean, if you're gonna bash me for growing up in a nice house, then hey man, that's just part of it. I got lucky with that. But I could also grow up in a nice house, and in the process of me growing up in a nice house, I could become a drug addict.
You could.
I could ruin all of this. Only he didn't. Right. But with that being said, Malone's peak. I think Malone's peak years. I think that was 89 and 90. I'm going to say 93, 92. Mm-hmm. That's a 4-year stretch. Malone gave me 30 and 10 for 4 straight years. Right. And you talk about the defense being built around him. Mark Eaton was one of those guys. Sure. Mark Eaton was definitely one of those guys who was an elite defender. Stockton was an elite defender. Malone, however, later on in his career, was making an all-league defensive team and played at an elite defensive level for years. I mean, Malone made the all-league defensive team 4 times. 3 of those 4 times, he was first team. Your logic about Malone not being, or the Jazz not, consistently going to the conference finals. Well, that's not true, Mari. They was in the West Finals 5 times in 7 years. They ran into Olajuwon. They ran into Gary Payton. and then they beat Olajuwon, and then they beat the Lakers. So
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
they were consistent, right? They were consistent in being awesome in the Western Conference. They were consistent in that. They were the class of the Western Conference. Now, as far as me taking one guy's peak over another guy's longevity, when I think about what Garnett did, and he was on the backside of what he was when he got to Boston. Sure, I can definitely get with that. But what does that say about Malone, who he was on the backside of who he was when he was winning league MVPs? He was on the backside of who he was when he was winning, when he was making first team all league and a first team all league defender. He was on the backside of that. So when I think about that, when I think about stuff like that, right? When I think about stuff like that, I'm thinking about longevity. You think that he was a far better player than Malone? I don't. I think Malone was
Not far better.
not far better.
I think
Okay,
he's a better player.
you think he's a better basketball player? I don't. I think Malone had a better mid-range game. I think Malone was a better transition player. I think Malone was a better finisher. I think he was better slightly. I think he was a slightly better scorer. I'll give Garnett the edge on defense. I won't give him the edge like this on defense, but I'll give him the edge on defense. The rebounding edge, this goes back to what we just got finished talking about. Am I going to take 5 years of Garnett cleaning glass like he did, or am I going to take 12 years of Malone being a double-digit rebound and cleaning glass?
But in those 5 years, he was the best. That's the thing.
That's what I'm talking about.
You were the best in those 5 years.
Well, see, that's what I mean, Omari. Okay, so in those 5 years, you were the best. And in those 5 years, that was awesome. Meanwhile, in the 12 years that I was doing it, when I'm 10, 11 boards a game, we're consistently going deep into the playoffs. I'm consistently an all-league defender. Late in my career, I'm consistently an all-league defender, and we're competing for the NBA championship. Now, I can appreciate the logic that Malone was on a better unit, and they did a better job in building that unit around him. But when we get later on in Garnett's career, Garnett never became a double-digit rebounder after the 2008 season. That's it for him. Malone was still doing that at 33.
He wasn't even double-digit in that season. He wasn't even double-digit in that season, which was one of his best defensive seasons ever.
And Malone is still doing that at 32, at 33, at 34, at 35. He was a glass cleaner still. So the point that I'm making is if I'm gonna value a guy being at his best, right? If I'm gonna value a guy being at his best, I also have to take into account how long he did it and which one am I gonna take. And if I have to choose between the two, this short period of time isn't enough for me. No, it's not.
But if hypothetically speaking, what Kevin Garnett had to do was at an unsustainable level. So it's unsustainable to
keep talking, Amari. I hear you. Keep talking.
So Kevin Garnett's ability to lead a team in every statistical category is unsustainable for that time of his career. Like it's no player can do that consistently. However, if I'm you still there?
Yep, you hot. Keep going. I got you.
If I'm going to say to Kevin Garnett, okay, I'm going to anchor this entire team around you, and obviously we're not going to have the longest prime of your life, basically, and continue to do this. Whereas Karl Malone, where the kid has a more built around unit, is it not fair for me to say that player that was able to do that is better than the player that had a team that was built completely around him? Remember, I think Karl Malone had a team that was functionally built around him to emphasize every bit of his career. I think Kevin Garnett never had that as a player, and I can say that Kevin Garnett, when he was taking out of basically when the system was him, there was no other system, there was no plays that were run. I can say that Kevin Garnett was definitively the best player in 2003, 2004. I can never really say Karl Malone, despite having a team built around him. Now, this is again to the point of I can't punish him for playing in the era that he did. But then I can also say that he wasn't the best player in the 90s. And there could be an argument that he might have not been the best power forward throughout the entire 90s. I know some people have Barkley above him, so I think I wouldn't. But it's to me, it's what you do when you do it. And I think with Karl Malone, he never reached those heights that Garnett reached as an individual player. But I think I give to you that the scoring is better from Malone. I think Malone is a more consistent and more reliable scorer that you can build it on. But I honestly do think that the Stockton element is the part that really moves me the most. I think
I
Karl
think we
Malone.
need that though, Amari. I don't think that's something. I don't feel like that's something that we can discount. I mean, that goes into the logic of a guy, doing it by himself. I mean, how many guys do it by themselves? I mean, that Houston team that Olajuwon was on, he wasn't by himself. One, they were together for a long time. Two,
Yes.
that was a damn good team. So I'm not going to fault Malone for having Stockton, just like I'm not going to fault Jordan for having Scottie Pippen. I'm not going to fault Steph Curry for having Klay Thompson. I mean, Klay Thompson was a major part of what they were doing. Contrary to
Yes.
popular belief, he opened up a lot more shots for Steph Curry, just like Curry opened up a lot more shots for him. I'm not going to hold that against Steph Curry because he had another sharpshooter and bash him to build up James Harden because James Harden didn't have Klay Thompson. I can't do that.
And I would say this is just as a kind of quick point as well. I think what it is with Kevin Garnett as well, that for a lot of people that moves him above Karl Malone, there's no what is with Karl Malone. I think when it comes to him as a player, I think you sort of fully maximize Karl Malone. This guy and his point guard, they didn't miss games. They played 82 games for basically the entirety of their career. That is an unheard. Plus, that
I think Stockton missed 5 games or some nonsense
that
like that.
5 games, and Karl Malone really only missed games when he was a Laker. So when you think about 56 games, Karl Malone played without John Stockton, and I think you saw what the best of them was. I think because everybody has this thing about Minnesota wasting Kevin Garnett's prime, and we saw what he did. I think there's this element of when there's a ranking, we don't necessarily rank Kevin Garnett as what he was, which I still think was better, but I think we also hold on to the idea of what else could he have been in those years, especially that 2005, 2006 season where they missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now there was more. I think
that's
that's
the league in rebounding that year too, by the way.
Exactly. So it was I think it was from 2002 to 2007. Kevin Garnett led the league. 2006. So you have 4 years of him leading the league in rebounding. Mm-hmm. I think I think that's the reason why you run into that argument with Kevin Garnett the most, because we know what that Timberwolves team was. They lost draft picks. I mean, they did everything badly. So it is close. I'm not going to argue that when people say it's not close, I do think Karl Malone is probably the 4th best power. Well, maybe after Giannis.
I think he's second. I do. I think he was better than KG. I think
I do. You think he's better than Giannis as well?
Yes, I think he was better than both Giannis and KG. I think he was better than both of those guys. I do. I think the longevity, for the exact reason for what you're telling me, I think what you're doing is you're docking Malone for having Stockton, maximizing what he did, and Kevin Garnett being more of a what if he had this for this long. Okay, well, he didn't, but I did. And in the process of me doing this, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think that I'll give you the edge from a rebounding standpoint, even though I feel like Malone being the rebounder that he was for longer, I think that matters. Mm-hmm. And in addition to him being the rebounder, offensively, I think that in terms of a passer, Malone doesn't get nearly as much credit for the distributor that he was, how he was able to hold defenses off, and how he was able to make the correct read. And one of the things that we don't talk about nearly as much from Malone is his ability from the stripe, how much better he got. Because he came into the league as like a 55 or 60% free throw shooter. That went up to 70, something like that, 59%. And that later on turned into like 70 plus percent. That's a pretty big deal for a guy that's getting to the stripe and getting fouled as much as he does. So in terms of the defense, secondary
passing option as well for that team as well for a long time, because he would be the one that be passing from the post and basically feeding anybody to he'd be like a kind of run an inverted pick and roll with him actually to a certain degree. So Stockton would come off the pick and roll, and then obviously Malone would dump it down to Stockton to maybe get like a wide open layup, because he was such a kind of player on that. I don't think it's as bad. The way people reacted to it, I don't think it's as bad as they're saying it is. The argument that he's better than Kevin Garnett, I think it's the championship moves a lot of people, and the defensive player of the year, which is a lot.
Just one of them, Mari. How about this for an idea? Just one of them, and I'm going to let you go on this. If you give Malone one of those championships where he beat Jordan, how we talking about him?
You're talking
Just
about
one
him
of them.
as
We ain't talking about him. We ain't talking about him winning both of them. He ain't beat Jordan twice. He just beat him once. How we talking about?
okay. So you look at Karl Malone at the end of his career. Now, one championship, most likely a Finals MVP,
Yep.
second in scoring, top 10 in rebounds. I believe number one in free throws up until the point he retired.
Yep.
He might be in, yeah. So that's basically his career resume. How many All NBA selections did he have? What, 10?
11 straight years he was first team.
11 straight years All NBA, 4 foot 3 second team All Defensive teams, one first team All NBA defense. Yeah, he's a top 15 player.
Three first. He
Three,
made the All League defensive team 4 times. Three of
four
those
times.
4 times. 3 of those 4 times he was first team All Defense.
Okay, so inverse order. Yeah, then Karl Malone, I think, is the second best power forward of all time. I don't think it's crazy to say that. I think from a resume, and a 2-time MVP. Yeah. And I think if he beat Jordan one of those years, he probably would have won a third. So
Well, I think they got it wrong, Amari. I think that Malone won it in '97. Jay should have won it in '97. Malone should have won it in '98. We should have back-to-back league MVPs at that
yeah,
point.
I think so. And yeah,
I
he's
think
number top
we got
15.
that wrong.
Top 15
Definitely.
all time. Top 15.
I already got him top 20. I already have him top 20. If he beats Jordan in one of those, there's a top 10 conversation that may be had. Maybe.
Yes. Not while he's playing, but after he retired, I think.
After he retired, 100% he did. So
100%.
good to talk to you, Amari. I know where to find you at, brother.
Yep.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you. What up?
Oh, you got me up here, Unc. I need to cut my camera on today.
No, you good. If you just came to listen, you straight.
No. I came to touch on a couple things from the show earlier. I seen you debating this. He said Shaq was a better transition player than Tim Duncan. I mean, than Karl Malone in the 90s.
Am I losing my mind?
He was out of control.
Am I losing my mind? What is happening, man?
I was like, oh, he just talking up there. He don't know what he talking about right now.
You see the white that I have? Like these dudes take years off my life when they say stuff like this, yo.
Yeah, I think Karl Malone, it's an argument. I mean, if you want to look at KG and say, oh, yeah, when I seen what he could do, but do we rank players off of greatness or just who look better?
I think it's a combination of the two.
Because Karl Malone he got to be greater than KG, though. The 2-time MVP, he was going up against Jordan. He went to the finals twice. They act like KG ain't have nobody. But when he won that championship, that team was loaded. And he wasn't the MVP. Yeah. He played second fiddle.
You could make the argument he was the MVP of the finals, though.
You can make the argument, but the facts are he wasn't the MVP.
No, that's a fact. He did not win it.
Even if they had to argue it. You see what I'm saying? If they had to argue you being the MVP or not, it was a toss-up in the air anyway. Mm-hmm. And he didn't get it. Yeah. And then with Tim Duncan, I just don't see. Tim Duncan came straight in the door, ready to play.
And produced right from the beginning.
Straight from the beginning.
Right from the beginning, he produced.
There was no
grace period. There was no grace period.
I ain't gonna lie. This fascination with KG just came about when Mars broke down all the VORP and once he got everybody got fascinated with KG. But I remember KG back in I used to watch the Timberwolves as much as I can because you know how TV was back then. You couldn't really watch everything.
I'm not giving you Dirk over KG. I'm not doing that. But
I like Dirk over KG. I did.
I'm not doing that, but I'm not discounting what Dirk was. I got Dirk at 4. I do. But to your point, I mean, to say that Shaq was a better transition player than Malone, I don't think that guys understand what a transition player is. Malone ran like
mailman.
Right. He ran like a deer. That's what he did.
That's why his name was the mailman. That's what I'm saying. And then they said Stockton wasn't that good. Now Stockton is so great. Oh, he has Stockton, but I've been here for 2 years straight that Stockton's overrated. He's not better than nobody. He's not top 10. He's not a top 10 playmaker all time. But all of a sudden, he had Stockton. It was a lot of points they was making up there. And Swipe would just be yelling sometimes. Y'all got to quit letting him yell like that. Because
I deal with him as much as I can. That's my man. I definitely
When you
deal with him.
yell like that, it seemed like you're getting the point across, but you're really not.
You ain't talking about nothing. All you doing is
Yeah,
yelling.
you
That's
just
all you doing. Just because you
saying
don't
stuff.
you right. No. Mm-mm.
Like, I disagree with you on the Anthony Edwards, Draymond Green. I don't think Anthony
Today?
Edwards today, now. What make you think that now?
I just feel like he's more athletic. Don't get me wrong. I think Draymond is smarter, but I think he's lost a step. And I think that that's where Anthony Edwards has the edge. And I think that within the next year, it's close. Even if some people don't think that there's an argument, I think that he passes. I don't think that Anthony Edwards is. I think he's going to be the best guard in the game, and I think he could be the best defensive guard in the game too. I do think that. I think he could be that good.
So is he better defensively than J-Mac?
Not right now, no.
J-Mac better than Draymond?
I think he's the best. Now, you could be better than this dude and not better than that dude. That could be the case.
How on defense? You got to break that down to me. On defense,
you well, okay. So let me rephrase this. I said that Anthony Edwards is better than Draymond today. I think he's more athletic, and I feel like he's lost a step. Does that mean that he's better than Draymond? I may have misspoke there. However, I do think that I don't think he's that far away from Draymond. I think that McDaniels is more versatile than Anthony Edwards. I think he's a better closeout defender. I think he's a better on-ball defender because he's bigger. I think he's just as good an athlete on defense. I'll give Anthony Edwards the edge, but I do think that Jaden McDaniels is a damn good athlete. So I think he's as smart as he is, as rangy as he is, and he doesn't foul or make a lot of bonehead plays. I would give him the edge over Anthony Edwards right now. And I think that with him and Draymond, I don't think that there's a gap. I think Draymond's edge right now is because Draymond's edge right now. That's it, because because all the other stuff, I feel like it's fading. I do. That's why I think Anthony Edwards is closer than a lot of you guys may think he is. A lot of you guys.
So is Ant-Man a better defender than Jaylen Brown?
I don't think I said Jaylen Brown. I don't think I said he was better than Jaylen Brown.
But he's better than Draymond. Jaylen Brown a better defender than Draymond? See, I don't think
Draymond is as good a defender. I don't think Draymond is the defender that you think he still is today. I still think he's a damn good defender, but I don't think he's now.
No, I ain't saying he's a defender.
I think when I'm thinking about Draymond Green, I'm thinking about the All League. I mean, he just made the All League defensive team like a couple of years ago. Is he still a damn good defender? I think he is. I think Anthony Edwards is right on the outside of that All League defensive team.
How many defensive teams he got?
Who?
Ant-Man.
0.
So, how many defensive teams Jaylen Brown got? Do we got
0.
some?
0.
He ain't got none.
0. Now we're talking about how close these guys are, and a guy playing at an all-league defensive level.
Right.
It's kind of like being the league MVP. How many league MVPs you got? None. How many you got? None.
But this is what I'm saying. If you think this is what I'm saying. You know how good Boston was this year defensively. Yep. Just defensively, they was good.
Right.
And if the Warriors had that same type of team, Draymond definitely would have made the defensive team this year.
But he didn't, though. That's what I'm saying.
But I'm saying if they had that record that the Timberwolves had this year.
Well, I don't think I don't think that was it. I mean, because if you think about, I mean, Jalen Suggs made the All-League defensive team, and Orlando wasn't.
What you mean? Like Orlando was in. They was all right. They was in the playoffs.
But they was a top 5 seed. I mean, they wasn't.
It was in the playoffs.
They wasn't Minnesota. And then last year, I mean, Chicago didn't make the playoffs, and Alex Caruso was an All-League defender.
And Orlando's defense was pretty good last year.
It was damn good. I won't argue that. But Alex Caruso was an All-League defender, and they didn't make the playoffs.
Right, right. You're right. But he got a reputation too.
Vic
Sometimes you get in
also.
there off a rep. Sometimes you get a little rep. You know that. And
That's fair.
Draymond didn't make it. Okay, I'm gonna fall back. You had a good point on that one.
All right,
I'm
brother.
gonna land my plane. I'm gonna let you get on with the show. I just wanted to come through,
Absolutely,
touch
brother.
on a couple points.
Yep. You know where to find me at. Out.
All right.
What up?
Yo, yo, yo.
What up?
Hey, sir. Sure. Chilltown Hoops.
What's
This is my
up?
first time here. So YouTube recommended to me, and I like what you guys are talking about. So I started watching the NBA around like 96, 97,
Yep.
collecting NBA cards and stuff. So I was like, oh, I'm interested in their debate with Karl Malone, and KG.
Yep.
And I would say, I don't know. I do like KG, but Carmelone, like I did the comment here. I don't know what his career would be if he didn't have John Stockton. And we saw that. We saw that in the Lakers when he became a Laker.
Well, he was older at that point. He was 40 years
That's
old at
true.
that point.
That's true. Yeah, it's kind of hard to but that's a super team though. Also with
Yeah,
Peyton,
I don't know. I mean, sure, a lot of people will say that
right?
it was a super team, but I think that crew
Uh,
was. I mean, Malone was 40.
mm,
Peyton was like 35, 36. I mean,
and then
I think it was more reputation than it was actual production.
plus also there's a lot of issue that's going on, like locker room issues, which I heard with Kobe, and and I didn't want to get into that because I want to just stick to the topic with who's the I would say I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'll pick Kevin Garnett just because I like him overall with because Karl Malone is a better shooter, and his duel with Rodman, oh, that was amazing,
Sure.
you know.
Hmm.
And for me, I don't know, like maybe just because I'm biased because I love the Bulls so much. And when I started playing basketball, I kind of model my playing with Dennis Rodman.
Right.
That's why I'll pick Kevin Garnett. Plus, he became an MVP. Also, at the same time, he became a defensive player.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So with Tim Duncan, also, I'll pick Tim Duncan. Over all of those guys because to me, Tim Duncan is number one as power forward. So
Absolutely.
and me being an historian for a center, I'll pick Bill Russell just because
Well, what do you value though when you're picking these guys? What do you value more?
I'm more of a overall kind of guy. Like
What do you mean when you say overall?
number
What does
one
that
is
mean?
like influence. Like we don't know the history because I wasn't born that time. I didn't saw it, but like overall, like the influence of Bill Russell, like with the black community, and also the things that he has to deal with.
Right.
We're not just talking about shoes. We're not just talking about Nike, Converse. Just talking about like Gatorade. What did they drink back then?
Water.
Lemonade,
Water.
right?
Hmm.
We don't know. I don't know. And things that like the duel, Wilt, right? Wilt and him, like he only won once against what's it? Yeah, Bill Russell Celtics with that duel. And when Red
Nobody
Auerbach,
else. Nobody else beat the Celtics though. Nobody else did.
mm-hmm.
So
But in the finals, right? In the finals.
yes, nobody else beat
Yes,
the
yes,
Celtics
nobody did.
in that
And
decade.
when Coach Red retired, who took over as a coach? And that's why I said LeBron. I'm a big LeBron fan too. I would say, why did they even pick JJ Redick as a coach? I would say just LeBron, just be playing coach. No, who does that? Me being Filipino, we do have that. We call him Jaworski, Sonny Jaworski, and he did that. He was a playing coach.
Mm.
And to this day, the only two people that I know whose legend status, and Sonny Jaworski is I don't know if you know like PBA. He's called during this time is the living legend because he was the only playing coach, and then it kind of like history repeats itself because his son played also together. They played together.
I don't know
Yeah,
who that
Sonny
is.
Jaworski's son.
Yeah, I don't-
this is
unfortunately,
PBA. This
I
is
don't know who that
PBA's
is.
history.
Right.
So,
Right.
but I'm
In the
saying
Philippine
for
Basketball
me,
League, sure. I
yeah,
got
for
you.
me, like I see it as overall. But I'm sorry, maybe I don't know if your goat is LeBron over Jordan. That Jordan to me is I'm just biased with the
Sure,
Bulls.
that's fair.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fair. So,
So
all right, brother. Good to talk
okay,
to you.
thank you
I
for the
appreciate
time.
it.
Yeah, I
No
appreciate
problem. No problem. What up?
What's good, OG? How you doing today?
What's up, brother? What's going on with you?
Hey, doing pretty well. Okay, I got a stat line for you. This is a 5-year peak. I'm going 27 points. I'm going 10 rebounds. I'm giving you 7 assists. I'm giving you 2 steals, and I'm giving you a block. I'm doing all of this shooting 51, 40, 90. Is that peak one of the highest peaks, if not the highest peak you have ever heard?
That sounds like Bird.
It is Bird. It is Bird.
Sound
That is Bird's 5-year peak. Yes, sir.
Sound like Bird.
I knew
Yep.
you'd pick that up fast.
That sound like
I-
Bird right there.
Well, there goes that.
I don't know how many guys running around
Bird.
this 27,
Okay,
10, 27, 10, 6 in the block. That sound like Giannis today.
So my argument, if Giannis could shoot 51, 40, 90, like is Larry Bird got the greatest peak of all time? Arguably.
I don't know, man. Chamberlain was pretty awesome.
Oh, fair enough. How about post merger?
Post merger. Let's see.
Best 5-year peak post merger.
Jordan, his peak, his Jordan from 88 to 93. That was pretty awesome. James from 2009 to 13. That was incredible. Let's see. That was because most guys, in terms of a peak, I'm gonna get 4 years. I'm not more times than not. I'm not gonna get when we're talking about peak, right? I ain't talking about your prime. Your prime was probably I'm thinking between 8 to 10 years. That's prime you. But when I'm thinking about your peak, more times than not, I'm more likely to get 4 years of peak you. Like this is you at your best. So for Bird to give you 5 years of that, I mean that's pretty remarkable. I mean Shaq had a pretty impressive peak. I think Shaq was like 28. I think Shaq was like 28. Let's see, from 99 to 2003, I think Shaq was like 28, 12, 2 blocks, and I think he led the league in field goal percentage like 3 of those 4 years, something ridiculous like that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you one of those Are you one of those that think that Shaq should have got the 2001 MVP over AI?
I didn't hate it, and I'm on record. I actually told the story. I almost got in a fish fight with him because he thought he should have won the league MVP that year, and I explained to him why they gave it to Iverson, and I understood why they. Of course, I want to see you win it, but I understood why they gave it to Iverson. He wasn't trying to hear none of that. He wasn't. That's which furthers my point about how these guys care about these awards. Like I almost got in a fist fight with the dude. That's what happened. He wasn't trying to hear none of that. No, he wasn't. He wasn't. So that's what's going on.
I can only imagine. Man, yeah, I appreciate you always. Have a good one, man. Have a nice night. Good to talk
to you. Yep. All right, guys, it's about that time for me. I got to bounce. It was good to see you guys tonight. Y'all know where to find me. If I'm not here, I'm on the panel from 11 to 2, Monday to Friday. If I'm not there, you can find me Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. on TikTok. Good Morning NBA. If I'm not there, I'm right here. And then if I'm not here, you can find me on Saturday at 12 o'clock with my man Big Ox. We do Chill with Chill on the Players Choice Network. I'm not hard to find, guys. This is pretty simple. So It was good to see you guys tonight. As always, it's a pleasure. I will see you guys soon. But until then, put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother. When last time you talked to your mother? Call your mother. I will talk to you guys soon. But until then, take it light, but take it. Absolutely, man. It was good.